The air conditioner broke last week while I was out of town, and my wife had to call an emergency technician in the middle of the night. A company we'd used before without issue sent a guy over. He fixed the air conditioner no problem, but once he'd left I woke up to a million missed texts and calls from my wife, who was hysterical. Apparently, within minutes of showing up, he made comments about her body and other suggestive statements. She made it clear she wasn't interested without being outright rude because she didn't want him to get mad and leave without fixing the air conditioner. The tech kept trying to put moves on her, then after he'd fixed the air conditioner, he didn't leave right away, trying to feed her some lines about how she seemed to be home alone and he could spend the night to make sure she was safe. Eventually, he realized he was driving down a dead end and left, but the whole thing just really freaked her out, having some guy in the house who didn't leave when asked and everything. I was pissed to hear about all this, and she was shaken up by the incident, so we left a review on their Google and Yelp pages saying what had happened. The company is pretty small, so the owner called me to apologize a couple days later and said the tech had had a few drinks that night, not expecting to be called out to an emergency job, and that his sense of humor had clearly been misinterpreted by my wife. He asked me to take my review down because it called the tech out by first name, and apparently a review saying he was coming on to a female customer could cause some personal problems for the guy. The owner also reasoned that the business was an air conditioner repair business, not a bedside manner business, and that they did fix the air conditioner, so deserved a higher rating. I told them our review stands, and they basically said we were idiots for threatening the reputation of their business and the personal reputation of the tech over a single misunderstanding. On the one hand, they did fix the air conditioner, and that's what we called them to do. On the other hand, I feel like this is relevant information for people considering hiring them, even if it was a one-time thing. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. No wonder your wife was so upset. He was way out of line. That's actually terrifying. Joking or not, that's a nightmare scenario. A guy in my house, stepping outside his professional capacity to make comments about my body and make a point to mention that he knows I'm alone. It doesn't matter how he intended it to come across, the result was she felt genuinely threatened. And he was drunk on top of that. Good lord. His boss is an idiot too for trying to defend it. Misinterpreted my foot. I like how people hand-wave away inappropriate behavior as a sense of humor being misinterpreted. As if saying it was okay, and the wife just didn't get the jokes. And a review saying the tech is a douche might hurt his reputation. You don't say. You're perfectly accurate to say, tech fixed my air conditioner, but had been drinking while on call and wouldn't stop coming onto my wife. If you use this company, ask for someone other than tech's name. I'd leave another review about the owner's lack of professionalism as well. Not the idiot. Not the idiot. Not only was he completely inappropriate, I would be terrified if I was your wife in that situation. Having someone come onto you can be uncomfortable enough, but this guy was in your house and wouldn't leave. Yes, he never went past creepy. But there's a reason the saying men are scared women will laugh at them, women are scared men will kill them resonate so much. You never know how a man will escalate the situation when rejected, and your accurate review is 100% justified. I've been a single mom to 2 kids since they were 6 and 4, their dad passed away. Around that time, my son was formally diagnosed as autistic. He's not very verbal and prone to physical outbursts when he has a meltdown. He's been in therapies of every kind for his entire life, and it's helped somewhat. Their dad had a life insurance policy which allowed me to stay home as my son's main caregiver while working freelance, but money was tight and finding anyone capable of watching him has always been a challenge. My daughter was graduating from college last year. A week before the ceremony, she had an award ceremony for academic achievement. I was obviously incredibly proud of her. She asked me to come to it and I said I would. Her college is 2 hours from here. I hired a trained sitter who specializes in autism the day of the ceremony. Right as I was about to leave, my son had a meltdown and was lashing out at the sitter. I couldn't leave, and he wasn't calm for hours. I'd left my daughter a voicemail saying I wasn't going to be able to make it. She called back that night absolutely livid. She called me a crappy mother, said I had 2 kids, but only cared about one, that I'd missed every game and performance she'd had as a child, and it clearly wasn't going to change as adults, and that she was just done. She said she knows he can't help it, but her brother is incapable of showing empathy, and it made it hard to be around him without resenting him. She hung up and that was it. I've barely spoken with her since. She didn't send tickets for the graduation we were supposed to go to the next week. She hasn't shown up for holidays, and I've heard she's engaged but didn't call to tell me. She's cut us out, and in the one of 3 times we've spoken, since she said it's easier for her to not have us around than be disappointed, and that being alone at events is nothing new for her, she just doesn't have to bother getting her hopes up I might come now. Am I the idiot? I've offered family counseling, and all other manners of things. I know I wasn't a perfect mom growing up, I didn't make it to her things, but not for lack of caring. I'm heartbroken, but I don't think me not showing up in an emergency should have lost me, my daughter, forever. You're the idiot. You sound like the stereotypical parent that has one special needs child, and because of that child, you neglect the needs of your other children, because you always have an excuse, the special needs child. Crap, you even have a special needs trained sitter, and you still use it as an excuse to skip important things for your daughter. Sorry for your situation, but after 18+ years, you should have figured out how to manage things such that you can make it to important events for your daughter. You're the idiot, unfortunately. I know you're hurt and I'm sure it was very difficult to be in your position, but you let your daughter down in a major way. It wasn't just this one emergency, it's that it's been everything for her whole life. You hired a trained sitter. What would have happened if a meltdown happened 1 hour into your drive? Would you have turned around or let the trained person you hired do their job? She always comes last, so it's easier to step back. I understand where she is coming from. You're the idiot. Of course you are in an incredibly difficult position having to be a full-time mom to your son. But you have had many years to get it together, and you have failed. Is your son still in school or an adult day program? What is your long-term plan for his care? Clearly not his sister. Your daughter is an adult now and is choosing the relationship she wants to have with you based on her experience so far. She has every right to choose to be low contact with you since she views the family dynamics much differently than you. This happened a couple of days before Christmas. My sister, her 3 kids, 4, 6, 8, and I were all staying at my parents' house for the holidays. I have a 1TB iPad Pro, the largest screen model that I use for my job. I do digital commissions, design band posters, design flyers to make money on the side as I'm in college. I saved up for a year to buy this iPad. It was an investment in my hobby. I left the iPad plugged up in my father's study, where I was working on some projects the night before. I got up in the morning to find the thing shattered in the living room. My sister nonchalantly apologized and said, "Oh sorry, the kids broke your screen. Dad says he has a new one he'll give you to replace it." She didn't even bother to wake me up when she saw that they were broken. I asked her why she wasn't watching her freaking kids and how they got my iPad from my father's study. She said that she gave it to them so they could watch YouTube. I obviously started yelling at her and asked her how she could be too obtuse as to let her kids play with my stuff without asking. She called me selfish. They're my niece and nephews and I should want to share with them. What the hell? My dad tried to give me an iPad Air and tell me that it was the same thing. I told him it was unacceptable and I wanted my iPad replaced immediately. He said he didn't have the money, so I went to my sister and demanded the money. She tried to ask if she could make payments as the cost would wipe out her savings, and I said no way. I wanted the full cost of the iPad, the pencil, and the $250 that I'm going to miss out on because I couldn't finish the project I was working on. It would be around $2,200. She tried to call me heartless and told me to think of my niece and nephew. I told her to go back herself. If she was a better mother she'd have more than $2,000 saved up when she has 3 kids. My parents think I'm overreacting, but I don't. She is trying to avoid me and not speak to me, and I told her that I would be suing her then for the full cost of my iPad and lost wages. She's acting like a total idiot and crying on social media about how her heartless brother is trying to sue her and break her and her children over an honest mistake. I've gotten calls from several family members calling me a bad brother and asking me to reconsider. I can't believe this is happening. Would I be the idiot for suing my poor broke sister because she can't watch her freaking kids? Not the idiot. I'd almost say everyone screws because your comments to her were kinda crappy, but what kind of entitled person takes someone's work equipment, gives it to her little kids as a toy, then gets mad when you won't accept a used device that's 1 out of 10, as good as the one she should never have had in the first place? If she'd apologized I'd say not to sue her, but she didn't and is acting furious that not everything is free for her precious babies to destroy. You know what, everyone's the idiot here. She was irresponsible and is being a little ridiculous with the social media crap, yes, but raking your own family over the coals for $2,200, especially when she offered to pay for it. You're in college, not about to be starving on the street. $2,200 is in no way something to ruin your relationship with your sister over, which suing her is obviously going to do. Kids break things. It happens. She should pay you. She offered to with a little bit of accommodation. Get over yourself and be a good brother, bro. Everyone's the idiot here. Your sister should have never let her kids use your iPad. I will agree with you there, and while I think you should be reimbursed for your iPad, you are definitely going about it the wrong way. Hurling insults and telling her she's a crappy mom because she doesn't want to wipe her savings to replace your iPad makes you quite the idiot. If she's willing to make payments, clearly she's assuming responsibility. It stinks she made a bad decision by not respecting your property, but it sounds like she's trying to make it right. Show some maturity and understanding and stop overreacting. Accidents happen. When I was 11, my mom married my stepdad, who also had a 13-year-old daughter. For the purpose of this post, we'll call her Emma. Me and Emma have never gotten along. When I was 22, I finally went no contact with her. The straw that finally broke the camel's back was when she gleefully announced she was pregnant with my then fiancé. On Christmas Day. That was honestly one of the worst times in my life, and it took me a really long time to recover from the betrayal. Emma ended up marrying my ex, and they have a little boy together. I'm currently 28 and engaged to a wonderful man who is a lot better than my ex ever was. Emma and my ex ended up divorcing after 3 years, and she now lives with my mom and stepdad. My fiancé has family in Italy who he'd like me and my parents to meet before the wedding. The original plan was to go this summer, but obviously, with COVID, our plans got put on hold. I was discussing the plans to reschedule for next year with my mom recently, and she asked me if I was going to invite Emma and her son along. I told her I wasn't, and she asked me to reconsider because she didn't think my stepdad would come otherwise. That's fine with me. It's really my mom and dad that my fiancé wants to introduce to his family. She argued Emma has matured since becoming a mom and getting divorced, and that she wants to attempt to have a relationship with me. When I told her I wasn't interested, she said I was putting her in an awkward position and that I was taking my half-sister and stepbrother on my dad's side, so she felt like I was favoring him. My stepbrother is literally the person who introduced me to my fiancé, and my half-sister and I are close. She also said it's unfair because Emma could never afford a trip like this on her own, and my nephew would be the one to miss out on bonding time with his cousins. She asked me to reconsider before she left and has only replied to my texts to ask if I changed my mind. I'm starting to feel guilty because I know mine and Emma's dislike for one another has put a massive strain on my mom's marriage, and it's not fair to her. My mom's sisters have also called me to ask me to change my mind. I'm starting to worry my mom might not come either with how cold she's being. My full sister has also reached out and told me Emma had been going to therapy and has realized that what she did was horrible and that I should consider forgiving her because she was going through a lot of her own issues, depression and low self-esteem at the time, and that my ex also made her suffer a lot too. Realistically, if she came on the trip, I could just avoid her the entire time, but I also don't know if she has changed or if she'll start up her old tricks again. My fiancé is also the one paying for the trip, and I selfishly don't want him to pay for her. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If she's changed that much, why hasn't she reached out to you herself? If you choose to build a relationship with her, then that can be done at home. She doesn't need a holiday paid for to do that. If your mom puts you in an awkward situation and won't choose to come along, then I'd just leave her behind. Apart from it being totally understandable why you don't want her there, I'm also shocked at the sense of entitlement from you. Mother regards getting your fiancé to pay for her and her son to go because they couldn't afford it themselves. Not the idiot. This trip is not about Emma's wants or what would make your mom's life easier. This is you and your fiancé's trip where the focus is on you two. I am not a forgiving person. I haven't spoken to my sister in years, and her transgressions would be considered minor to what Emma has put you through. So I am in no way advocating that you bring her back into your life. However, if you decided that you did want Emma back in your life, a first step would be a coffee date, not an all-expenses-paid trip to Italy, where she can tarnish more of your memories. Do not ruin what should be a magical time for you and your fiancé. Trust your gut. Not the idiot. It's unfortunate that your mom feels stuck in the middle, but some things are unforgivable. It's nice that Emma realizes what she did was awful. Good for her. Hopefully, she becomes a less terrible person. That does not need to be rewarded with an all-expenses-paid trip to Italy. If your stepdad is incapable of confronting that Emma's actions to you were monstrous, it's unfortunate he won't be able to attend. Assure your mom that all the step-siblings on your dad's side who announced that they had gotten themselves pregnant by your SO in the middle of a holiday dinner also aren't coming. I'm currently 28, female. I am married with 3 kids, 4-year-old twin boys, 3-month-old girl. My grandmother is 71. Back when I was 15, my mom had a set of twins, boy and girl. She was put on bed rest because the C-section she had gone wrong and she lost a lot of blood. Where she needed help and I went to school full-time, she invited my grandmother into our home, free of cost, to help her out. At some point or another, my mom had threatened to kick her out because every morning my mom would check on the twins to find my brother missing. My gram, who is extremely overweight, had been taking my brother from his crib and was sleeping with him on her chest on the couch. My mom told her multiple times to stop and she refused, so my mom threatened to kick her out. My grandmother's way of retaliating was to tell my mother, who had extreme postpartum depression, that my sister, 2 months old at the time, rolled off the bed and fell onto the tile floors. This never happened. This obviously caused extreme panic on my mom's end, which made her spiral because she was already suffering from the postpartum. Because of this, I don't want my grandmother anywhere near my baby. I lived out of state when my twins were born, so she didn't see them until they were 2 years old and she was never allowed around them alone. However, now that I live in the States and have a baby, she has been harping on me to let her meet my daughter. I kept telling her no, but gave no reason up until last night, where I reminded her that where I witnessed her causing my mom unnecessary panic, I would not be allowing her near my child because I am not going to change her doing the same thing with me. My grandmother lost it and really tried saying that that scenario never happened and that we made it all up to make her look bad. A lot of the family has also sided with her, she told everyone, and says that I need to let crap go and stop living in the past. I have been told that I am alienating my grandmother and that I am going to destroy her by not letting her build a bond with my child. Am I the idiot? Not letting her meet your baby is very different than leaving her alone to care for your children. She has shown she can't be trusted alone to do as she has been asked. So that makes perfect sense that you don't want her caring for them. But it sounds like you just don't like her after her atrocious behavior and simply don't want her around. Which is absolutely fine and you're right. But I think you need to admit that you just don't like her. Letting her meet your kids is hardly putting them in harm's way. I do understand if you want nothing to do with her. Not the idiot. Your grandmother is a chronic liar and is lying to this very day. She says it never happened. Then says to stop living in the past. The past where things never happened. She is not only unsafe to be around you, she might very well have an actual accident with your kid and lie about it. Even if she was a perfectly lovely A+ parent, you'd still be within your rights to set up a boundary and keep low contact because as a parent it is your decision to choose who your child will be exposed to. Stay strong, OP. Not the idiot. Who gives a crap about her bond? How many people do you hear from that have extensive relationships with their great-grandparents? Very few. Your kids aren't missing out on anything. Especially from a sorry excuse of a person who lies and manipulates someone's mental state to their own ends. She shouldn't be around most people, let alone someone's kids. We move on from the past so we can live in the present, but we certainly don't forget it